All right, 3-0 whitewash. India fine-tuning their engines for the Champions Trophy. We had a Gill 100. We had a Kohli 50. We had Iyer with the 80. Rahul scoring some runs. All the bowlers grabbing a wicket, at least one wicket each. England getting off to another brisk start, and as usual, falling off the wagon right after that first wicket fell. We will unpack all of it right now, right here. You're watching the In Between Overs podcast. I'm Taran.
And I'm Ishan.
Okay, so thoughts on the game, immediate thoughts.
Well, immediate thoughts. I think you described perfectly what had happened. It was a full-on team effort, and from batting towards bowling to captaincy, minus the extra Patel fielding. We'll talk about that. But I think everything else was clinical and perfect from India. And it was nice to see, some people who were a bit maybe short of runs previously, being able to cash in some runs this game. And, white ball series in unbeatable, really, some may argue.
Yeah. It was definitely another strong performance by India, kicked off by the prince himself, Shubman Gill, or as you like to call him, the flat track bully.
Gujarat Titans, Ahmedabad King.
Yes. Put up 100. I think he deserved 100 after the way he's played in the first two games. He's probably robbed of 100 in the, I think it was game one, and he finally got there. He got there today. Looked class. His shots were pure timing, pure bliss with the fours and sixes, and he's so nonchalant in the way he hits the ball. But he makes it look so pure, and it was a great innings by him.
Yeah, no, classy innings. And I think if the number is correct, 14 fours. Unbelievable. I think that just shows the timing and his control over the ball. And, he's played a lot of
Ability,
knocks there.
yeah,
Sorry?
ability to split the field too
Oh,
when he
yeah.
boundaries, right?
Yeah, no. And it does seem like that is his favorite ground. He just knows, the pitch, the bounce, and, how to really slice the ball or play it late. I think he was playing it late very well. But no, I think Shubman Gill played exceptional, as you mentioned. I think that's what India wants. If Rohit Sharma's not able to put up a good score, you would hope and bank on the other opening partner currently, which is Shubman Gill, to put up big score, especially in subcontinent conditions. I think it suits both of their playing skill set very well. So no, I think as you mentioned, Shubman Gill, you got to give him his flowers and incredible batting.
Yeah. So he hit a awesome century, and then we saw a solid 50 by the king himself, King Kohli. Is he back in form? I don't think so, but this was a good progress towards him coming back to form. Again, you could say another flat track bully, but it was still a good innings, very Kohli like. Some of his flick shots were good too. And again, a great ball by Adil Rashid, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But he got up to the similar dismissal than the second ODI.
Similar front foot defense, or if it's a front foot push, or if it's a shot, it's that front foot that gets him every single time. I was able to catch the highlights as well and read some of the commentary online, and there was a few chances similar like that where it just hit off the edge. Maybe it would have been like fourth, fifth slip, for example. Similar issues. You would hope he's back, and I think this innings will bring him some confidence. But getting out in a similar way again, it's going to be in your mind again, right? Because you would really think that any other way than this. But again, similar front foot defense, edge to the keeper. But all in all, it was a composed 50. I think it was a pretty, at a quick pace as well. I think just under 100. But I think he played extremely well, and hopefully this will bring him enough confidence to get the big runs in for the Champions Trophy.
Composed 50, but it sounds like it
Yeah.
wasn't chanceless.
Yes.
That is something that has been missing for a while. There's always been that that chance of
That
yeah,
edginess of the
edginess,
game, right? Like it's not
right?
clean. Because we
Yeah,
I guess seeing all those Kohli innings when he's in the flow state, it's beautiful to watch. It's clean, it's classy, and it's the classical cricket shots. But to your point, it's not that much these days, and it is a little bit concerning, especially considering it's the tournament's coming up and you expect him to play well. So I really hope that Kohli is able to really hone in on the deficiencies and make some good runs going forward.
Yo, you still there? I think you froze. You there?
Yeah.
Yeah, yo, you completely froze.
Yeah, I froze.
Yeah. It's okay. I marked the clip, so I'll keep an eye on it on the edit. But
Okay.
you can continue. You can continue what you were saying. I think you were talking about the Kohli, the edginess to his batting. Yeah,
Yeah, no.
just make it natural. It's fine.
Yeah, no, no. In terms of Virat Kohli, yeah, we are all, I think, growing up and watching him, especially in his heyday, it was always very classy, composed innings, and the shots are very smart, and he played the ball to the merit. But yeah, to these days, especially in recent memory, it is a little bit of edginess, a little bit of hesitation maybe in his game. Perhaps that comes with sometimes maybe not being able to pick up the ball as quick as you were used to. But you really hope he gets over this hump for the Champions Trophy.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good start though, and hopefully he continues the run scoring for sure. Another batsman that continued the run scoring, Shreyas Iyer, been on fire this entire series. Another rapid 80. Speaking of chanceless, like that seemed pretty chanceless, pretty fluent innings.
Yeah, and he's had that throughout the series. And I think, if you compare his performance recently as well as his performance during the Cricket World Cup in 2023, he's been a star performer in the middle order for Team India. And he is, sort of that joint or that conduit in the middle that's really able to push the innings along, right? I think you really need that someone in the middle to really carry the momentum forward. And short balls, full length deliveries. It seems like Ayer's in full flow, and there's discussions of Gautam Gambhir not initially having him in his Champions Trophy plans, but I think his performances in the last three games really puts him up there, and you'll be really hard to pass on him in the middle order for the Champions Trophy. He's played exceptional cricket, and you have to give him the flowers.
Yeah, and I think you should give Kohli some flowers too, or maybe a big thank you, because if it wasn't for Kohli's injury in the first one day,
Mhm.
I don't think we're talking about Iyer today. Because Jaiswal was supposed to play this series by the looks of it, and Iyer was supposed to be backup batsman, but Kohli didn't play that first ODI. Iyer took advantage, scored a 50, couldn't leave him out after that, and he nailed his position with another 50 the next game, and now he cemented it with this 80, which could have easily been 100. I think he deserved it. Unfortunate dismissal down leg side. We were talking about off
What
air.
a no shot! What a no shot! Like
Yeah, yeah. It was one of
thing at
those.
all.
It just sucks. It's those dismissals are so annoying because it's such a bad ball. It needs to get smashed.
I know.
At least get a wide for it, but instead you nick off. And credit to Salt behind the stumps for
Yep, yep.
it's not easy when you're blinded by the batsman. So it was a good take for sure, but unfortunate for Iyer to miss out on a century.
Yeah, no, no, 100%. And I think it was also very refreshing to see someone else cash him runs in. Gil
Yeah.
Rahul, he's had some bizarre dismissals throughout the series, not really looking the best. I think some very low double digit scores, but a solid 50. And, it seemed like he was, playing his shots and getting in the groove of it. Seemed great.
Yeah, another fluent innings by
Hmm.
the Indian batsman, this time by KL Rahul. And he needed that. He needed that for
Yeah.
sure. I know it wasn't a big knock, but it's something of substance that got India to a really, really good target of 356. And yeah, hopefully a start of something special for him as well. Back into form, back into some of the runs, just like we want to see with Kohli.
Yeah, no, no, exactly that. And I think, even you're looking at Pandya, Akshar Patel, the tail, they've added some quick runs as well. But, just changing discussion towards the England bowling. How did you feel about Adil Rashid? Because I thought he looked so great today. He did seem like some of his deliveries were unplayable.
Yeah, in particular, the delivery that he got Hardik Pandya out with,
Beautiful.
that was a
Beautiful.
dream ball. That is a leg spinner's dream ball. It doesn't get better than that. Pitching right out, just outside leg stump. Batsman coming forward defense, and thinks he's covered the line in the spin, but the ball spins more than the batsman anticipates. Takes off stump back. Beautiful ball, unplayable. And even Kohli's dismissal, it was a similar delivery, except this time he got the edge. Again, batsman couldn't do much. You feel like you've got most things covered, but the ball just spun more than anticipated. And that's what happens when you hit the right areas and you put a lot of revs on it, which Adil
Hmm.
has been known to do. He's been known to get that leg spinner's fizz through the ball,
Yeah.
where people have said when you are in the middle and you watch Adil Rashid bowl, you can literally hear the fizzing sound of the
Really?
ball from the leg.
Like a butterfly wing or something, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much he puts into the delivery, and that is what determines how much of spin you get, especially on wickets like the ones in the
Yeah.
subcontinent. So kudos to him, and it's one thing to spin the ball, it's another thing to be consistent in delivering it on what you can say a certain area on the pitch, ball after ball after ball. He went for runs, but that's gonna happen. He's a spinner. He's not going to get every ball right, but he gets it right most of the time. And he's been England's linchpin as a spin bowler for years now. And there hasn't been anyone, at least in the one day setup, that has come close to getting his spot or looking like a potential replacement for him. They are going to be in a hole when Adil Rashid retires.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, especially in the white ball format. I know he's been one of those players where he's been so consistently across a lot of, ICC tournaments, a lot of bilateral series. And sometimes, he may fly under the radar because, we're always talking about the the England fast bowling, the England batsman. But he's been a part of the setup for a while, and he's really, a lot of. I think I would call him a legend of the game, especially the white ball format.
Yeah, for sure.
And no, just to comment quickly on the Pandya wicket, I believe it was his last ball of his over or maybe his spell, I'm not sure. And just that moment of Pandya still holding the pose, looking up at Adil Rashid looking back at him. They both knew it was a worldie for delivery,
Yeah.
and it's one of those moments where you have to just take it, be like, you know what, you got me this time.
Yeah, 100%. And for Adil Rashid, that's like one of those dismissals that you frame and you ask for every picture you can find of it, every clip that you can find of it. You show your grandkids all of that. It's one of those dismissals that you dream of. So yeah, definitely good bowling by Adil Rashid.
No,
All right,
no,
so
fair enough.
England come out to bat, chasing 356, 357, try to resurrect something out of the series, maybe grab a game. Once again, brisk start by the openers as they've been doing all one day and T20 series long. Ben Duckett looked $1 million once again, 34 from 22. Phil Saul, 23 from 21, looking like they would take the game away from India. But Arshdeep Singh, who got a game, we talked about him getting a game, he gets a game, and he bowled two really good slower balls.
Yeah.
Deceived the batsman, no clue. Testament to his repertoire of deliveries. And he was
Hmm.
able to get a wicket out of nothing because at that point, it looked like England were running away with a big start to at least the first 10 overs.
Yeah, no, no, I completely agree, and I feel like this podcast we could just use last ones and just repeat them instead. Similar discussion of great starts, unfortunate, not able to get over the 50, 60 runs each mark and get a bigger score. Right, it just didn't happen from an opening stand perspective. And speaking of Arshdeep Singh, glad finally we're seeing some left arm bowling in the ODI setup. I know Arshdeep's great in the T20 setup, but we really want to see him being able to bowl more and more overs. And I think he brought a lot of that T20 skill set. The slower ball is from a T20 perspective, it works really well for him. And to bring that in the ODI format, I think it just allows you to have more items in your toolkit. And I think getting those two wickets, especially at that juncture, was super important. And then I think a lot of the other bowlers were able to take similar regular interval wickets.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that Arshdeep in the white ball format, he needs to be the first fast bowler outside of Bumrah on the team sheet. He
That's a
is
big
that
take. That's a
He
big
is
take.
that good, and he's left arm. He can
Yep.
swing the ball. He can bowl slower balls. He can bowl the Yorker. He can bowl at any stage in the innings. You can go to him to bowl a pressure over at the end as well. He's got everything that you need, and he's a complete bowler, looking like a complete bowler. He's looking like he's entering the prime of his career again in white ball. And I feel he needs to be um, on the team sheet right away. And I don't know why he didn't play the first two ODIs. Maybe they wanted to try Harshad Rana, Mohammad Shami, maybe give him a rest. Maybe there's plans of him playing the Champions Trophy. We'll
Hmm.
see. But he looks like he should be a lock.
Yeah, no, I agree. Having that left arm variability is, I think, super important in international cricket. You see that a lot from a spinner's perspective, but India just didn't have a left arm fast bowler like Arshdeep Singh, and you have to use him as much as you can. So I completely agree with that take. But a question for you is, I know we'll have a separate podcast on the Champions Trophy, so we'll get on that later. But when it comes to, unfortunately, India not being able to have Bumrah, so we're gonna have to go with Shami and Arshdeep most likely, right? But if Bumrah was fit, who would you rather prefer, a fit Shami or Arshdeep Singh?
Right now, based on form, I'd take
Mm-hmm.
Arshdeep Singh.
You take Arshdeep. Fair enough. Fair enough.
If
I see
Mohammad
the
Shami
argument. Yeah.
got back to his form, because he doesn't look like he's at the Shami he used to be right now, and
Hmm.
maybe it'll take some time to get there. So based on that, I would play Arshdeep ahead of Shami.
No, no, that's a fair take. Yeah, I think Shami's one of those bowlers where you want to see him fit, right? I mean, he just hasn't been that this series, so I completely agree. And I guess moving on towards some of the other bowling options India had, some of the spinners did some good job in the middle. What were your thoughts on the spinners?
Yeah, again, overall, the Indian bowling unit itself looked really good, and the spinners. Washi had a couple off overs.
Hmm.
However, to be fair to him, he did. I think it was Salt where he did outfox him, but Rahul unfortunately couldn't
Yes.
get the ball, missed the
Yeah.
stumping.
Stumping. Yep.
So, he would have had a wicket and maybe given less runs than he ended up giving. But still, he's always a good option. I feel like he's the backup all rounder for the spinners, Akshar and Jadeja. So if something happens to either of them, you feel like Washi is always going to be there to sub in. And he's a good sub in. He's going to have his off days. Amongst all the spinners, I would say he's probably, I don't want to say the weakest, but he's probably, let's say, the easiest to play amongst all the spinners that India have. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Do feel like a lot of people do target him.
Yeah, yeah. He is a great bowler, and there's a reason why he's in the Indian team. But
Hmm.
just in the pecking order of spinners, he's probably at the bottom of the choices that you have. And so that goes against him, and usually the opposition batters tend to target him because he
Hmm.
doesn't have too many tricks up his sleeve. He's got his off spinner. I don't think he really has a doosra. He has a maybe a straighter one.
A
And
straight one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You usually see opposition batsmen tend to target him, but I'm sure, will continue to improve his repertoire, and he seems to be a player that India has been investing in for many years now, all the way back to, I would say, 2018, 2019. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he's come a long way, and I think he'll continue to grow. Again, great backup option to have right now.
No, no, I completely agree. And I feel like we did speak on most of the Indian bowlers, but one name that we forgot to mention was one I think with the most aggression when he got the wickets today, Harshit Rana. It felt like he was really aggressive after the wickets. What were your thoughts on his bowling and his attitude?
Yeah, I'm liking. The more I see Arshad Rana play, the more I like him. Even with the bat, he came and tonked a six, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he looks like one of those players that we've been missing in terms of. I know we want to talk about bowling, but just to talk about that batting, I think I've mentioned this on a pod or two many pods ago, where I said the Indian lower order is missing that hitter, that person that can just come in. He's not a batsman, clearly, but he can come in and make a quick 20, 30 from like 10, 12 balls if he middles the ball. And
He's a
and
big boy. He's a
he's a
big
big
boy.
boy. He's a big boy. And we haven't had that in a while, and I feel like he brings that to the team with his batting. And of course his bowling is going to be the main topic of discussion. And he did a great job today. Again, he's again another bowler that can hit 140, 150 at times, which is a rarity with Indian bowlers outside of
Hmm.
Jasprit Bumrah. Uh, if he works on his length and line, he's going to be a dangerous bowler because he already has a raw pace. So the more
Yeah.
experience he gets, the more pressure situations he finds himself in, the better bowler he's going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing for him. I think in Australia we did see at times the pressure get to him. But to your point, I think as he continues playing international cricket, and I think the white ball may just suit him a little bit better. So hopefully he's able to channel that aggression towards maintaining a line length and just being at it. But no, I just wanted to comment on that batting piece. I get exactly what you mean. Sometimes you just need a slog sweeper, someone who just slogs the ball. just takes a step towards the leg side and makes some room and just hits the ball. And he's that type of player who's not afraid to do that. And I think you need that.
Yeah, yeah, especially when you're in situations where you need, 60 of 5, 100 of 10, 12 overs, and he comes in at number 8, 9, tonks 20, 30 from nothing, 12 balls, 15 balls, and all of a sudden the target's reduced a bit.
Yeah.
And if there's a batsman on the other end, that makes it easier for India to maybe chase those types of targets. Similarly, you're trying to set a target like today, he comes in right at the end, hits a few sixes, scores a quick fire 15, 20, 25, and now what a score of let's say 330 becomes 350 like it did today.
Yeah, no, no, I completely agree. And yeah, I think, the overall theme is, I think, from a batting and bowling perspective, it was a collective effort for Team India. Bowlers were able to wrap it up. But I think that score that Team India had put up was, I think, a little bit above par. I'm not sure what your thoughts were, but I think it was a hard chase, and you needed a good start from England, and you just never got that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I felt like the target already put a lot of pressure because right away
Hmm.
England needed to score 7 and over, which again they got off to a good start, but again, they just seem to fall off in those middle overs. It's the spinners. And I think Kevin Peterson said it on air. India struggled against spin too, but it's just that India has better spinners than England. England have a spinner. They
Hmm.
don't have spinners. And that was the decisive, that's what divided the two teams. Because on one hand you have Kuldeep, Akshar, and Washi, and on the other hand you have Adil Rashid and Joe Root.
And Livingston, don't forget Livingston.
But Livingston and Joe Root are not full-time bowlers. They are part,
No.
especially Joe Root. He's a complete part-timer. And I know his spin bowling has improved, but it's nowhere the level of even a Washington Sundar
Hmm.
who who's a bowler first before he is a batsman. So I feel like that has been the difference not only in the T20 series but in the one days as well. It's been the spin attack of India.
Yeah, and it is, I'm not sure if worrying signs, but it's something that England will have to think about for the Champions Trophy. You're playing in subcontinent conditions, and to your point, not only do you have to bowl spin, but you also have to be able to play spin very comfortably. And I think apart from Joe Root and maybe Joss Butler, England does sometimes struggle in that department. So it's going to be, I think, interesting tournament for them up ahead. But I think India, if they're able to keep the combination in, and if they're able to keep their fitness up and the form, I think there is a potential for some really good results this tournament for Team India.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're going to be doing next. The Champions Trophy is coming up. It's starting next week on February 19th, starting with Pakistan versus New Zealand. We will be doing a preview of the Champions Trophy, maybe run down the squads, the teams, what we think the outcomes are going to be. So you don't want to miss that.
No Bumrah, we have to talk about that.
Yes, yes, we definitely have to talk about that. But we'll save that for that podcast. In the meantime, just to wrap up this series, India, England, who was your standout performer for the entire series?
I'm going with Shreyas Iyer. I thought he was consistent across the series, and as we mentioned, he got called at the last minute. I'm not sure what he's watching on Netflix, but he turned it off. Woke up the next day and scored a nice 50, and closing off the series with a 70 plus score. I think he was under pressure, and I think he really wanted to prove himself to get into the squad for the Champions Trophy. And I think he's really cemented himself. And I think his innings each time was able to carry the momentum forward for India. So for me, it's Shreyas Iyer.
Okay. Okay, for me from India, it would be a toss up between Shreyas and Shubman Gill, and it's hard for me to pick one, so I'm gonna go with a tie, Shubman Gill and
Fair, fair.
CSI, because they both were consistent. They both had 50 plus scores. You could argue that because Gill got 100, probably I would give it to Gill in my opinion. But both of them, I would say, stood out for sure from India's side. So who do you got from England?
England, I want to stick with a batsman again. I'm going to say Joss Butler, and I think he played some decent innings in the ODI setup. I think from a bowling perspective, no one really stood out. Maybe the Adil Rashid last game, this game, but I think you want at least one of the opening batsmen to do something material for a result. You never really got that, and I think just the middle overs batsmen. Apart from Joss Butler, I don't think there's too much of a spark in the England setup.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to pick someone from the England setup. I'm gonna go with Adil Rashid. because
Fair.
whenever he came on to bowl, you could sense that he was probably the one bowler that could do something. But other than that, England's bowling didn't really trouble India's batsmen too much. The batting was, again, they got starts, but no one was able to kick off. To your point, Butler was fairly consistent, but not consistent enough to make a big score that
Hmm.
made a difference in the game. And that was the biggest thing that was lacking from England's side, again, throughout the one day series and the T20 series.
Yeah, but hey, it was entertaining. For sure. Both first to T20s set up and now the ODS squad, and I think it kind of got you in the mood for some 50 over matches next week. So I think it was a good thing to have this series.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good precursor for both teams to sort of test out their strengths and find out what their weaknesses are
Hmm.
for the Champions Trophy. And that is also a good place for us to end the pod. That's it for the day's play. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That stumps.